So, Congressman Adam Schiff of California, a Democrat who sits on the House January 6th Select Committee, this guy is an outspoken critic of Donald Trump and the Republican Party in general. As a matter of fact, I think he participated in both of the Trump impeachment cases as a case manager, actually arguing in the Senate to the Senate that they should convict Trump of impeachment. He went on CNN's State of the Union today and said bluntly that, in his opinion, as a former prosecutor, Donald Trump committed multiple criminal offenses in his attempt to overturn the 2020 election. Shocker. But it is big news, and we should definitely take a look at it. So, Schiff's remarks come one day before the January 6th panel is set to convene for what is likely its final hearing, where the committee is expected to vote on possible criminal referrals against the former president. This is huge. This would be a historic event. You know, everybody in the United States, every politician, every historian, every, civic professional makes the case that, nobody is above the law. Now, obviously, that's the sentiment, but in practice, there's actually evidence that some people really are above the law, or that the standards for the law obviously differ based on your income, your skin color, your sexual orientation, your political affiliation. But this would be a historic event if it comes to fruition, because it would be the first time in U.S. history, as far as I'm aware, that a congressional body has recommended formal criminal charges to the Department of Justice against a former president. That didn't even happen with President Nixon, as far as I'm aware. He resigned before he was convicted of impeachment. President Ford, his vice president, who became president once Nixon resigned, pardoned Nixon against all potential crimes as an attempt at national unity. So this would be historic. And actually, Schiff indicates that there would be more people than just Trump who would be the subject of criminal referrals. As a matter of fact, he says, we're not voting to refer everyone we think there may be evidence against, because we want to focus on those for which we believe the evidence is strongest. So this is interesting. They're being very judicious, the House January 6th committee, in terms of who they recommend for charges. They're not going to charge everyone for which they have evidence. They're going to basically prioritize the high-profile targets, or the targets against whom the evidence is strongest. That's very judicious. It's very pragmatic. And also, it may be other members of Congress who are subject to this. Schiff said that, during the course of the House January 6th committee's investigations, there were members of Congress who ignored congressional subpoenas, who did not comply. And Schiff says that the House committee will be looking into appropriate remedies for how to deal with people who did not comply with congressional subpoenas. And he said some of the options include censure. It includes ethics referrals, right? So, Congress has these ethics bodies who can potentially punish or fine members of Congress if they've been determined to violate congressional ethics. But I think they also might be the subject of criminal referrals themselves. If you're a sitting member of Congress, you are not immune from criminal referrals. You can be charged with a crime and prosecuted if the evidence is there. So this is huge. Tomorrow, December 19th, is the last day, or the expected final day, of the January 6th committee hearing. So it's going to be their summation. And the final report for the House January 6th Select Committee is expected, I think, December 21st. So when they write their formal report and submit it to the public and to the rest of Congress. Now, Schiff also notes that he doesn't know what the Justice Department has in terms of evidence, because, remember, Schiff is a member of the legislative branch. He's a member of the House of Representatives. They are running their own investigation, which is political in nature, in the sense that it doesn't have the full force of law behind it. Like, they can't arrest people, they can't convict people. That's the Justice Department, which is under the executive branch. The Justice Department is running its own parallel investigation. Attorney General Garland, about a month ago, appointed Jack Smith, who is a career prosecutor whose current assignment is actually pretty high profile. He was basically loaned to Europe, to The Hague, which is the UN's war crimes body, and he's prosecuting Kosovo war crimes, which I think occurred in Kosovo during the Clinton administration. So this guy's no joke. And the reporting about Jack Smith has been pretty blunt. I mean, as soon as he got the assignment, even though he was in Europe wrapping up this Kosovo assignment for The Hague, he hit the ground running. He requested that former Vice President Mike Pence sit down for an interview under oath, which again is huge because Mike Pence recently said that he wasn't going to testify in front of Congress because Congress isn't entitled to his testimony due to separation of powers. And just a few days later, Jack Smith's like, well, I'm an agent of the executive branch, which is the branch you worked for, Mr. Vice President, so I would like to interview you. So there's no separation of powers. So that's pretty big. That's a sweeping move. Smith also filed subpoenas for multiple local and state government Trump allies in a variety of states, including like Arizona, and there were a couple of others as well. But there were like multiple states that Jack Smith wants to subpoena Trump allies for, and this is just one after another. So I think we're starting to see the culmination of the House January 6th Select Committee. They're going to make their referrals, and then it's going to be up to the Justice Department under Special Counsel Jack Smith to bring President Trump and his allies to justice if indeed crimes were committed, which of course I believe there were. Of course, the last interesting thing to note is that Democrats lost their House majority in the midterms by a very thin margin, but the Republicans have essentially promised a pogrom of investigations in retaliation for the January 6th investigation. So they officially announced an investigation into Hunter Biden, and the Afghanistan withdrawal, I think, is another one that's coming up. COVID origins, things like that they are going to attempt to spin in a way that is politically detrimental to President Biden. So there's going to be a lot of tit for tat in the foreseeable future, especially if Kevin McCarthy is able to get his speakership. But definitely interesting. It'll be exciting to see how the Justice Department and how Congress proceeds from here. But I think that we are going to see some justice delivered, as controversial as it may be, as risky as it may be, given how it could piss off or galvanize Republicans. I think Jack Smith's not messing around. I think he's indicated that he has no bones going after a former president if the case can be made. And given that recent reports have indicated that Trump is hemorrhaging support in the Republican Party, Donald Trump is as vulnerable as he's ever been. But apparently has some cool trading cards, so congratulations, Mr. President. There's some sort of consolation prize. Hey, you. Yeah, you. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, and I hope that you did, please be sure to hit the like and subscribe. Also, my link tree is in the description below, so if you have a sec, go ahead and share the love on all my social media accounts. Also, if you want to express an opinion, eternal devotion, or undying contempt, go ahead and leave a comment because we're always looking for feedback. And on that note, I look forward to pondering politics and pop culture again with you very soon.